Hi, I'm John with the Christian Century, and I'm joined today by the editor and publisher of the magazine, Peter Marty. We're going to chat a little bit about him and his life and his ministry and a recent article that he wrote for us. But first, Peter, for those of our readers who don't know you, why don't you tell us a little bit more about who you are?
Well, thanks, John. I get to work with you every week, but I get to visit with these viewers for these few minutes. I'm a Midwesterner. I lived in different parts of the world, from Connecticut to Africa to England, but I'm a Midwesterner, born and raised Chicago. Currently, I live in Iowa, where I serve a Lutheran congregation. And I also commute regularly to Chicago to be in the Christian Century offices, where I get to work with this marvelous staff in this journalistic ministry that's it's well over 100 years old now. So it's a very rich and fulfilling life. I'm a person of faith, and that matters in everything I do. You know, the way I write, the way I speak, the way I hopefully attend to other people. And so, it's I'm grateful for a good life where not everything works perfectly well. Whenever not everything in family life has always been easy, but I have a beautiful family with two kids now, grown, married, and three grandkids. So Susan and I are very fortunate.
That's great. Thanks for telling us a little more about yourself. So, for those of our listeners who are not familiar with the magazine industry, it may not be clear what it means for you to be the editor and publisher of the Christian Century. Could you tell us a little bit more about what your role actually looks like?
Sure. Um, I don't oversee the day-to-day content management and editorial direction in the way that the managing editor, Steve Thorngate, does. But I do articulate the vision and the direction for both the organization and the magazine, and I mean that editorially and otherwise. I spent a good deal of my time in development, as we might say, or advancement, fundraising for the sustainability of this magazine. It's a tough time for the industry. I think we're doing better than most, but you can never relax. And were it not for our reader support, we wouldn't exist. So I spend a good deal of energy on that. Just so grateful that people care enough to support good journalism, nonprofit journalism, which is what the Century is, as we call it. I oversee operations and the staff in a large sort of way, work closely with the board of trustees. But, what I really care about is the imprint we make on religion and public life in America. And if we can be a conversation starter, a go-to place for thoughtful people who have religious sensibilities and sentiments and experiences, that's what I want to be. For years, we thought of ourselves as a magazine of faith, politics, and culture. And I think that still works. We don't use that as a tagline, but it's a way of saying we're not narrow in our outlook. We are, in fact, thoughtful and independent and progressive, as the current tagline has it. But we generate conversations. We try to put people together, and we don't proclaim to profess to know the truth on all situations, which is what, of course, hampers way too much of Christian life in America, and which, well, we don't espouse.
Yeah, that's a really good segue into what I wanted to chat about next, which is that you're both a pastor and the editor publisher of the Christian Century. A lot of times, pastors, I'm one myself, talk about their work in terms of a sense of calling, feeling called to do that kind of work. I'm curious if you have a similar sense of a call in terms of your ministry with the magazine.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I wish I rather think that anybody who's a plumber or a nurse or an electrician or a crane operator should also seek to try to see their work as a calling. Because if you don't really enjoy it and you don't have some passion for it and it doesn't bring you some inner satisfaction, well, then you should try to find something else. That's always been my perspective. And in my case, I guess my calling is driven by a deep sense of gratitude that I've been given so much in life, not just my breath and lungs and heart, but my mind and the relationships that I get to cherish. And to be grateful for every day, even the hard days, is part of the way I view a calling. Whether I'm in the pulpit or whether I'm in the chair at the Christian Century, I want to be a generous person. And by that, I mean a generously spirited person, not just little spasms of, charity here and there, or some little throbs of goodness, but that my whole spirit might be one of availability to other people, that I might care with some true compassion and empathy for those who do not have it easy. I guess I want to promote a generous way to live this life. And you can do that in journalism, you can do it in ministry, and man, you can do it as a plumber who unclogs sewer pipes. That's my sense.
Yeah. Well, I know I've been grateful for the pastoral presence that you bring to the offices of the Century, Peter. So you also write in the magazine each issue. There is a column called First Words that is from you. And I just wanted to chat really briefly about the most recent column as of the time of this video coming out at the same time as this video, roughly. It's a piece called The Interesting Life. And in the article, you recommend to the readers to, if possible, experience the widest range of emotions they can each day. I was curious what that might look like on a really practical level. Are there certain practices you have learned or you incorporate that help you broaden your emotional horizons each day?
Yeah, let me give some background to that, because it really stems from my own sense of leadership, that to be a good leader, you need many things, of course. You have to have a capacity to trust, and you have to have some dependable traits, and you have to have a calm center and a settled mind and a dependable heart, and, all kinds of things. But I actually believe, too, that to live a non-monochromatic life, a polychromatic life, you want to experience a range of emotions. I mean, if I can cry in a day, and I can laugh, and I can think, and I can get angry, and it could be about injustice, or it could be about a mistake I've made. I think that makes for a really rich day. And I want to be an interesting person because I want to hang around interesting people. And so to practice those kinds of things, I honestly think it comes down to being a first-class noticer, to be observant. And I'm not just talking about ants crossing sidewalk cracks, which is not unimportant, or the way butterflies beautify a garden. But I also want to be observant of other people who may be holding the door, or picking up dirty dishes for me at a restaurant, or waiting to get into my hotel room before when I check out so that they might clean it. If I can attend to other people, I'm going to think more empathetically. I'm going to feel something in my bones. And I guess that's what I really want. Ephesians 3, it talks about that God may strengthen you in your inner being, Psalm 51, you desire to be in my inmost parts. Well, if we take God into us, Galatians 2:20, it's no longer you who live, John, it's Christ who lives in you. If that happens, well, you want to be awake to it. You want to be on fire. You want to be moved and stirred with, some deep emotions. And I think the world works so much better if we can engage our emotions and help others do the same. And I guess to experience that every day, I want to observe, I want to attend to others, I want self-perspective. I need to constantly, recalibrate that inner gyroscope that is within me. The God that's within all of us. If you don't have God in you as a center, well, then you don't have much of a circumference either. And I guess if we're going to practice civility, if we're going to practice recalibrating that genuine sound of the genuine, as Howard Thurman puts it, in you, well, you got to work at that. And the more you work at that, if you don't take yourself too seriously, and you can even laugh at yourself, well, guess what? Your emotions are going to come alive, and you're going to be on fire for opportunities, unafraid of some adventures, not worried about every danger, not cowering in fear, not just hibernating in an echo chamber. Um, you're going to be awake to everything that God might have, from the tears that flow from your eyes, which I always think of as a biological gift from God, whether they're tears of joy or sorrow, to just, this robust laugh, because what else are you going to do when you realize, you only have so much time to live, and regardless of what the diagnosis is, you can still have fun in life. And all of those things kind of come together for me, to form this way of being, I guess I want to say, that where there's an interior life that gets expressed externally, and the conduit between those two are one's emotions. That makes
Mm.
some sense.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great mini sermon. And I'm grateful for it. Thanks, Peter. For those of you out there, if you haven't read the first words column in the Christian Century, the link will be below in the video description for the first words column on our website. You can read all of Peter's latest pieces for the Christian Century. Peter, thanks so much for being here and chatting today.
Well, thank you. And for what you do for the Century. John is our engagement guy who communicates with so many people, and to all our readers and supporters who make the difference in our joy in a daily way. Thanks.